Now, Angela Prusa, a Namibian cannabis advocate and founder of the Cannabis and Hemp Association, urges Namibians, including government, to strengthen the conversation around cannabis and its plethora of uses that can help uplift Namibians and prevent the damaging consequences of an antiquated and harmful law that outlaws the substance. She has a conversation with Africa Good Morning presenter Diana Master. Have a look.
We are joined in studio today by Angela Prusa, who is the founder of the Cannabis and Hemp Association of Namibia, also known as CHAN, a cannabinoid practitioner and cannabis advocate. Angela, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So we know that some African countries produce cannabis for medical use. Do you feel that sharing the medical benefits should be the first focus? And then, of course, later on, the positive impact it would have on making a contribution to an economy?
No, I don't actually believe that. I think that we need to unlock the full potential of the plant. The fact is that the only difference between medical cannabis, recreational or responsible adult use cannabis, and cannabis for spiritual or religious purpose use, the only difference between all of those is the intent of the user. The plant is still the same. So it's important that we unlock the full potential of that plant across all the different sectors. And I think one of the main things as well that I want to stress is that we really need to put an emphasis on creating a hemp industry in Namibia, which can produce, sustainably made textiles. For example, to revive Ramatex, we could create paper, we can create sustainable housing from hempcrete, insulation, etc. Because while our government could be planting hemp, a plant that can sequester carbon, a plant that can nourish the soil, and a plant that is a sustainable resource when grown in a good way, instead they're like focusing on destructive and extractive industries like fossil fuel drilling. So all of the above whilst in a climate crisis. So it's really important to boost the economy and to really utilize the benefit of the plant, that we unlock all the different sectors. And just focusing on medical as well has a lot of complications in that model. So no, I think we need to utilize all the different potential.
Thank you for elaborating on that, because, some people think that, cannabis only has maybe one or two uses. But now that you've let us know that there's a whole wide range and so much more we could unlock. And also, there's a common perception that cannabis is a mind-altering drug. Do you agree with this? And if not, could you please elaborate further?
So I think for this question, we need to look at what the definition of a mind-altering substance or drug is. It is a substance that can produce mood changes and distorted perceptions, act on the brain and central nervous system, affecting movement, judgment, emotion, perception, and many automatic functions of the body. So I agree that cannabis is a mind-altering substance, but so is alcohol. And even coffee, for example, is considered a psychotropic substance, as well as many over-the-counter medicines that we buy in Namibia. So would it be fair to violate people's human rights and their dignity by breaking into their front doors, locking them up in a cage, giving them jail time and a criminal record for having a beer after work or having a cup of coffee in the morning? If that is unacceptable, why is it acceptable when it comes to cannabis, especially when the proof out there states, as by various studies, and for example by the multi-criteria analysis study of the substances and their harms done by Professor Dr. David Nutt and published in The Lancet, that alcohol and tobacco are both more harmful to the user as well as the community than cannabis. And so I think when we look at cannabis, it's a topic, it should be regulated according to its harms, and it should not be regulated by the police. It's not a criminal issue, it's a health issue. We have an epidemic of violence in Namibia against women and children. You know, we have murder and we have rape and we have so much gender-based violence and so much domestic violence. And yet there is not enough police resources to deal with those issues and to keep our communities safe. But there seems to be plenty of resources and taxpayers' money that is wasted on arresting people who are utilizing a plant in the privacy of their own home, not harming anyone. So essentially, people are being, you know, jailed for a victimless crime.
You actually answered my next question. So, with regards to lobbying in Namibia, could you share some of Chan's projects and the vision for this year?
Yes, so we're hoping to continue to focus on education, and we hope that this year the media will get a bit more involved in that endeavor, so that able to educate people and have the conversations around cannabis so that we can, you know, get facts and evidence out there rather, you know, than focus on the fear mongering and the misinformation that's currently circulating. So we also continue to be in conversation with lawmakers and government, and quite a few presentations are underway. And hopefully, you know, soon we're going to be shifting away from this absolute fear that people have around cannabis to be able to make informed decisions. We also hope that we can engage more stakeholders from various industries to come to the table and look at the potential. For example, in agriculture, in building, in, you know, the veterinary professions. And I also hope that this year that more health professionals will come to, because quite frankly, the unwillingness and the almost bordering on arrogance of the health professionals in Namibia to use cannabis, in my opinion, is absolute neglect towards their patients. Because every human being and every animal, except for the insect, has in their body a system that regulates all functions and that keeps us in balance. And that system is called the endocannabinoid system. So we naturally produce endocannabinoids in our body. And the closest thing to that on the outside is cannabis that contains, you know, hundreds of cannabinoids. And when we put cannabis into it, works like a lock and key system with the endocannabinoid system. So because we have receptors for cannabinoids all over our body. And so, you know, for the health professionals not to engage and learn about this system means that they're missing a crucial link in healthcare. So I'm hoping that, you know, that we can come to the table and really focus on educating people, educating healthcare professionals about this plant.